in memory of Dick Robinson and sponsored by the Institute of Museum and Library Services.
Hi, welcome to the National Book Festival. I'm Kason Callender. I'm the author of King and the Dragonflies, and I use they, them, and he, him pronouns. The book is about 12-year-old King whose brother has unfortunately just passed away. And King is struggling with the grief of his brother, along with his family. They feel very torn apart by grief. But King is also struggling with the fact that just before his brother passed away, he told King to keep a secret about himself, which was his own sexual identity. So King is struggling with all of this. And meanwhile, his former best friend, Sandy Sanders, has just disappeared. And King finds Sandy hiding in his backyard. So King and Sandy escape into the bayou of their rural Louisiana town. To escape the pressures of society from the outside, dealing with homophobia, dealing with abuse that Sandy is struggling with his own father. I struggle a lot with fear. I have always struggled a lot with fear because of the way that I think society has kind of treated me from the time I was a young age. It makes me feel like I'm not quite worthy just as I am. So I think that because of that, fear can really affect me feeling comfortable in my own skin and feeling like it's okay to just be myself, no matter what other people are going to think. And that's what King struggles with throughout the book, not only with his sexuality, but with just the fear of how people are going to react to him. He feels like he really has to suppress himself. And I've realized through writing the book and also just kind of in the after effects of having written it and thinking back on the story, that fear can really close ourselves off and block ourselves from being our true selves, first of all, but also even from feeling like you can connect with other people. So I think that reading the book and kind of learning more about how fear has affected each and every one of us, but also can affect us from not wanting to connect with others because we're so afraid of how others are going to react to us, can help us heal that fear and hopefully open ourselves to others' stories and allow others to connect to ours too. I think it's okay to be afraid. I think that if we're honest with ourselves, a lot of us are afraid so much throughout the day, throughout our lives, and it's impossible to just release that fear. So I feel like saying bravery means you're not afraid is almost kind of like a shaming of that fear. But I think that the journey of looking at love instead of fear, looking to love, to know that we're worthy of love regardless of what others think, that others are worthy of love regardless of whether our fear makes us want to say that we are better than them or that we are more worthy. I think that has a lot to do with fear as well, those sorts of attitudes and how we treat others. I'm not sure that King actually ever overcomes his fear. I think that that's something that we all live with throughout our lives. I think that he comes to accept pieces of himself with love, more love than he had before. What's funny is that King and the Dragonflies actually did not take very much effort. And I say that carefully because it is so difficult to write books, but this was the easiest one for me. I think that was a part of the process because I think that this book really felt like it was a dream. I'm very into dreams. I'm very into dreamology and dream symbology. From the time I was young, I would have all these dream interpretation books. And writing it really did feel like I had sat down, and sometimes I would kind of like look around, like I feel like I wasn't actually writing, and I would have to reread things that had felt like they just appeared on the page. And I say all this because what's interesting is that so King believes that his brother, when he passed away, turned into a dragonfly. And King himself kind of wonders in the beginning of the book, well, why a dragonfly? Why not a panther or a wolf or something cooler? And I myself really didn't have an answer because, like I said, it just felt like a dream and it just kind of whooshed out of me as I was writing. So at the end, I looked up what do dragonflies mean in dreams, in spirituality, and it the dragonfly means it symbolizes death and it symbolizes the transformation of a person into a manifestation in the spirit world. So I kind of got shivers when I read that because that is Khalid. It's literally Khalid and his transformation into the spirit world as he's there continuing to guide the king. For me, the process, I think, was really feeling like I wasn't even writing the story. I do have a lot of beliefs about writing and where do our stories come from. It really felt like the story was given to me, which was something I was really grateful for. And my only job was being a tool and just kind of like letting it get onto the page. And I feel like those are when the best stories are written. Sometimes when I have writer's block and I'm there kind of like struggling with the story and trying to make it into the best that it can be. And it's something that takes like years and years to write. And, I'm like, it's so difficult to write. Sometimes I feel like that's when the story is not always going to be at its best because it's not really just whooshing through me in the same way that King and the Dragonflies did. If I get stuck, I stop writing. I think that that's something to do because it's like it's like writer's block. There's almost like a desperation sometimes, for me anyway, to kind of like just force my way through. And I think that that can make it worse because, again, if I'm trying to open myself to these stories that are going to come to me, then focusing on what I think might be the answer and not really paying attention or listening to the story as it tries to come into me means I'm not getting the answer that is the actual answer. I'm just trying to force it to happen. So I stopped writing. I love to work on like about 5 projects at a time. So I just go to another project that isn't in a place where I feel like I have writer's block, and I just keep writing until the answer to the previous project comes to me. The message that I would give younger readers, I would say that you are worthy of love. A lot of society does not want you to believe that you're worthy of love, but you are. And if you love yourself in the way that people don't want you to, if you stop believing the lies that are told, where you're not beautiful enough, where you're not smart enough, where you're just not enough exactly as you are, then you will begin to discover a real power where it doesn't matter what anyone else thinks, and you won't be so afraid to exist in the world, and you will celebrate yourself in a way that will almost be like a beacon of light. People who will appreciate you for who you are will see you. Look around you and take what is happening around you, your setting, and put it directly into the book and let it translate, even if you're not actually in Louisiana. I took a lot from the setting of where I am in St. Thomas of the United States Virgin Islands, and I transported everything that I've felt and heard and smelled and tasted, everything that makes my physical reality feel real, and just put it directly into the scene, no matter where the scene actually is. So in St. Thomas, there are like these swampy lands where mosquitoes just are everywhere, like knocking you in the face with every step. And I put that into King's story. And with Mardi Gras, there's a carnival, a similar carnival called Juve here. And I took my experiences from when I was young and transported it into King's experiences at Mardi Gras. I think that adults tend to want to protect children, again, because of fear. But these are things that children and young readers are already dealing with. And even more so today than when I was a child, I saw people struggling with racism, with anti-queerness, with abuse, with grief from losing siblings and family members. So of course, if this is something young readers are struggling with in real life, it's something that they're able to read about. And it's something that they're able to learn about as they're reading, even if they have not experienced it themselves, which can be just as important because it allows them to see the world in a different lens than they might not have before.